Welcome back, everyone, to the Writer's Parachute, where we're guiding author and writer dreams to a perfect landing. Today, we have with us a very special guest. He is a friend of mine, a longtime fellow author that I'm very excited to have on the show today. It is Sol Regwan, and he is going to be talking about his 4 books. He has one coming out in October that we're going to talk about, but we're also going to talk about his other books and his series, the Gizmo Girl series. But before we get to that, of course, we always start the show with some housekeeping. You guys know the drill. You've been watching this for a while, but for those of you who aren't, I'm just going to go through it really quickly. We would love for you to smash that like button, hit that bell for reminders. We do a new episode every single week. And of course, we would love for you to subscribe here on YouTube or on the podcast platform that you are listening to now. If you find a podcast platform that we are not on, please leave me a note in the show notes, and I will be more than happy to make sure we get on there. We want to make it easy for our writers. Of course, we're on social media. We are on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and now on TikTok at Writer Parachute. That's Writer Parachute with no S. And new for all of you, please go check out the new website, thewritersparachute.com. Go check it out. We have a lot of good information over there, and you can link to the shows from the website and to all of our social media. And of course, we're going to put some sneak things in there for you guys. So go check it out. And of course, we're going to go ahead and talk about our topic of the week. So this week, we're going to talk about picking and deciding and choosing a publishing path. Now, this is one of the tougher things that coaches, authors, writers, publishers have to talk about. Everyone has an opinion and they're all entitled to their opinion. But what it comes right down to is that publishing path is what's right for you. What is right for you? And I say that you need to have some knowledge behind that. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about the knowledge behind it in a little bit, but I want to talk about the practical tips about what to do once you have picked your publishing path. There is typically the self-publishing indie author where you do all the work. There is hybrid where you partner with a publishing company, usually a smaller press. They do the majority of the work and help you publish your book. And then of course there's traditionally publishing where you need a literary agent and they go around and find one of the big publishing houses to publish your book for you. They also manage the majority of the work behind your book. So those are the 3 options for you. So let's talk about the practical steps that you need to take once you figure out that publishing path. So I would say that we're just going to quickly talk about preparing. Make sure you understand all the ins and outs of the publishing path that you are choosing. Make sure that you clearly understand what your responsibilities are and what the responsibilities of the publisher are if you are not self-publishing. If you are self-publishing, then you need to see what responsibilities you are going to have and be well-versed in those. Secondly, I want you to pursue that publishing path. You should be writing towards that publishing path. You should be putting yourself in that line of how they handle things. If you're going with a particular publisher, they're going to have titles and items and topics that they're clearly interested in. So if that is your publishing path, then stay within their guidelines, stay within their requested topics. If you're going with a hybrid, you might have a little more flexibility, but again, check with them about their submission guidelines and what it is that they are looking for. Secondly, is to pursue that. You want to make sure that you have everything that you need to be published effectively. Find out from your publisher, your literary agent, or from self-publishing sources what you are going to need to do. Do you need to find an illustrator, and how do you do that? Do you need to find a cover designer, and if so, what is that going to be required to do? Are you only going to be an advisory to the publisher or the hybrid publisher on those aspects? Do you need to have it pre-edited, or do you want to send it straight as it is to the literary agent? Now, I would never suggest you do that. I think that every manuscript needs to at least be seen by a professional editor, but we'll talk about that at another time when we talk about editors. And then lastly, I want you to think about that this is an attack. when you are finding a publisher, especially if you're going traditional publishing, but even if you're going hybrid publishing, or if you're self-publishing, it is an attack. Have a plan of attack. You're going into battle. You're battling to get your book seen and heard. The better battle plan that you have or attack plan you have, the better success you're going to have in getting through that publishing process. Make sure that you're educated, you have the knowledge, you have the tools, and you have the help that you need. So I know that's a big topic, and we're going to talk a little bit more as we talk to Sol today about those things, but I hope that's helpful for you. And of course, we want to get on with the show and get to our interview with Sol Regwan. And he is an optometrist. He is a father of 3, and he is now a children's author. He has 4 books in the Gizmo Girl series, plus 2 other children's books that we are going to mention. So Sol Regwan is an optometrist who loves to ride. He is the author of 4 books in the Gizmo Girl series. Geraldine and the Rainbow Machine is his newest one that is coming out in October. He has also authored 2 other successful children's books, The Adventures of Pugley Bear and Dylan and His Magical Robot. We are so very excited to have with us a traditionally published author, Sol Regwan. We are so glad you're here on the Writer's Parachute. How are you today?
Wow, thank you so much. I'm very, very excited to be here. First off, I wanted to start off by congratulating you. This is an unbelievable podcast. I mean, the success that you've generated, it's grown. I am really, truly impressed by your podcast. I've been listening to it for the past week because I knew I was going to be on. And it's a great platform for writers and authors like me. It's a great avenue in finding out different topics. And I'm always learning new things here on this podcast. I actually learned a couple of new things myself over the past week. So congratulations on your successful podcast. I'm impressed.
Wow. Thank you. I just do it for the love. I love helping authors. I love writing, and, I want to hear the stories about, what didn't go right and see if we can all learn from it, because I think you learn more from not being perfect than you do from being perfect. So that was kind of my premise, and I'm just kind of over the moon with how well it's being received and the success. And so thank you for
Absolutely. That. It's a great platform for writers, authors. It's amazing. We need, this is what we need. We need to hear different perspectives and not just be boxed into one idea. I'm learning I thought I knew a lot about publishing, about authoring and all that. And I really don't know as much as I really thought I did. So podcasts like this really widens my horizon. So it's good. I like this.
Well, thank you. And I mean, as much as I know, I don't know everything either. And I'm constantly learning from my guests, which is nice because I get an education and I get to interview people and have fun with it. So it's been a win all the way around for me. So we want to talk about your newest book. Now, it's not even out yet. And I was fortunate enough to get a free copy. There he goes. There's that copy there. And I just love this. Now, this book is set to release in October, and Geraldine and the Rainbow Machine focuses on inclusion and diversity. And I wanted to know why that was a topic that was important to you to present in a children's book.
Well, with my every book that I have with this series addresses a certain situation, whether it's social, environmental. The first one just addressed basically science projects. The second one addressed environmental, the declining of the bee population. The third one addressed bullying, which is a huge issue going on all over everywhere here, basically. And then I wanted something that addresses a very near, dear to my heart topic, diversity and kindness, inclusion, all that. So that's how I got the idea about Geraldine and the Rainbow Machine. It's diversity right now. We have to start with children as young as possible, I mean, 1 year old, 2 years old, because I want them to learn to empathize. We're all the same, but we might not look the same, and we might be from different cultures. We might have different ideas and different religions and all that. And that's great. That's what makes us us. And to embrace that is what I try to bring out in my books, especially in this book.
Oh, this book was delightful. I absolutely loved it. I mean, it's very imaginative. It's extraordinarily colorful because, of course,
Yeah.
it has the rainbow machine. But also, I love the fact that you're sneaking teaching in there. And specifically, the Gizmo Girl series kind of introduces STEM or STEAM topics, subjects, specifically science, art, engineering, technology, and you throw a little bit of math in there. So I want to know why you think these are critical topics to include in your book for our in shaping our future with the children.
Well, my publisher, Schiffer Kids Publishing, they wanted me to incorporate STEM or STEAM into every single book that I came out with, and make it entertaining on top of it too. So STEM is so important because it helps with, it helps build resilience. It helps build critical thinking skills. What I want kids to know from the get-go is there's many different ways to solve a problem. You know, thinking outside the box is all I talk about every single day. I read a lot of children's books before I wrote my books. I read tons and tons. I'd go to Barnes and Noble and just read almost everything that I could. And there's a lot of cookie cutter books that, you know, you see out there. And then when you see the STEM books, it's just a different ball game right there. That really grabbed my attention. And that's what I wanted to relate to my kids. And it's a very, very important topic. It basically, when kids learn how to think about a problem, how to approach a problem, then they can go ahead and extrapolate it and then come out with a solution that might be that they can think at different angles how to solve a problem. And that's what STEM, when you incorporate STEM into a book or into any topics, it gives them that tool to go ahead and solve a problem like that. So it's really, really important. And whether it's through science or math or engineering or arts, I mean, a lot of people don't think that arts have it, but arts, it's a huge, huge topic there. And just like they say, math and arts have something together, they have something in common. It definitely does. Everything, all this is interlinked with one another.
Right. And for those of you who are not familiar, STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math. And they have added the A for arts, which comes out to STEAM. So if you hear people talking about these topics, this is what they're speaking of is topics surrounding science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. So we do applaud you for that. It is very, very important because this is what we need to hit the kids to hit the ground running with. We need them to be comfortable with these kinds of topics instead of waiting, as we always had in the past, until they're in high school or college to kind of introduce these ideas. So I think it's a great idea. And I love Geraldine. So the main character is Geraldine, and she is this precocious second grader. And I want to know who inspired you to create this character.
So a lot of people ask me this question. I get this question asked probably the most every time I have an interview, and it's an easy one. My daughter Olivia, who's actually going to be a second grader this year. But when I started writing this book, she was in kindergarten, so she wasn't quite a second grader. She is feisty. She loves to solve problems. She loves to do experiments. She has her own little gadgets and gizmos. I mean, I look at that and that is Geraldine. I actually wanted to name the book Olivia in the beginning, but you know that there's a big series, Olivia the Pig. Right. And so I couldn't do that. I don't know how, I don't know where. I just got the name Geraldine, and I never even met a Geraldine in my life. It was the very first thing that came to my head, Geraldine, not Barbara, not nothing. It was Geraldine. And it just stuck to me. And it's like someone said, this is what you're going to name the book. So that's how so it's based on my daughter, who's going to be a second grader, actually.
Yeah, and I think the name is absolutely perfect. It kind of gives you an indication that she is sort of an outlier and she thinks differently. And I do love that about her, is she's not afraid to question the status quo.
Yes.
So in the series, Geraldine invents solutions for her classmates. This happens almost in every single book where she sees a problem or an issue and she creates a solution. So I want to know how kids can connect to that message.
Well, kids love to, they have a great imagination. It all starts with their imagination and their creativity. And I wanted to create a book that has a little bit of a cliffhanger. How is this little girl, this second grader who's so feisty and a problem solver, going to solve a bullying problem in school? Or how is she going to solve the bee population problem? How is a second grader going to solve a bee population problem? So I wanted to relate this to, to children ages, I guess, 4 through 9. And they can relate with her inventions. She would just take regular household stuff, things that we have everywhere. I mean, any kid can invent this thing. It's not like you have to go buy this or something that's electronic or had to be, technically savvy, sorry. But so I wanted to relate it to kids' imaginations, and they absolutely love to see what is she actually going to do to solve this problem. So the problem presents in the beginning, and then she does her invention, and then she unveils it, and that's the cliffhanger. That's what they like to see. So they definitely relate to the inventions that she does. And then what I find out, and I get a lot of emails, and especially on Instagram from parents, that they've created inventions that are a little bit different than my book. And I think to myself, wow, this is great. They just thought outside the box. Oh my God, I wish I put that in the book. I mean, they really have an amazing mind. So it makes them start, thinking and get the wheels turning.
Maybe you should talk to your publisher about having a Geraldine invention contest next book coming out to see if they can come up with a great invention.
I can easily come up with the problems. The problems is easy to come up with, but the inventions and the solution is the tough part. And these kids, I'm telling you, they can solve things like that.
Right.
So imagine what they can do when they grow up.
Yeah, we want them to do that. So I loved it. I was hooked with this series from the first Geraldine and the Most Spectacular Science Project. That one was so different and unusual. And as I said, I laughed. And of course, as a mother, when she's taking apart the toaster and the glasses, and I'm just sitting there going, no, I would. But then when you see what she comes up with, you're like, okay, yeah, I probably would let her do that.
Yeah. All for the name of science,
Yes, good. All for the name of science. So yes. I loved this series.
Thank you so much.
You're doing an amazing job, and I can't recommend it highly enough. I really strongly suggest that you guys go out and check out Sol's series, the Gizmo Girl series, and he has the 4 books. The one that's coming out next in October is Geraldine and the Rainbow Machine. That's number 4. We have number 1 is Geraldine and the Most Spectacular Science Project. And then we have Geraldine and the Space Bees, and Geraldine and the Anti-Bullying Shield. So I do highly recommend you go check those out. And of course, he has the other 2 books that he has written, and I've lost those somewhere in my notes here.
Yeah, they were The Adventures of Pugley Bear, Home Sweet Home. That was my very first book that I wrote. And then the second book was Dylan is Magical Robot.
Okay.
So those are the 2 books, yeah.
Well, I suggest that you guys go check those out. So we're going to shift gears just a little bit here and talk to you about why we normally have people here on the Writer's Parachute, although I'm kind of a fangirl. So most writers and authors have some kind of obstacle or challenge that they have to deal with writing and publishing their book. So I want to know what your biggest challenge or obstacle was, and what do you think you learned from it?
Okay, so it's funny, we just talked about hybrid publishing and self-publishing and traditional publishing. So the first book that I ever wrote, The Adventures of Pugley Bear, was a hybrid published book. The second book, Dylan's Magical Robot, was a self-published book, and the Geraldine series is a traditional published book. So I have basically all 3 experiences that I went through, and I learned a lot of pluses and minuses with each of them. I ended up with the traditional publishing because it has a lot more pluses for me when you do a book series. But what I learned here was when I first started, I did not know how to publish a book. I did not know who to find for an editor, which is the most important thing, by the way. I'm sure you guys heard this over and over. Editing is about 90%. Editing is just, you have to get that on point. So I didn't know who to go to that. If you mess that up, your book is worth almost nothing. And then to put it on a platform like Amazon, or I didn't know how to do that either. So I was brand new to this. I just knew I had an idea. I wanted to write it out, and that's all I had. So I went with Hybrid Publishing. They basically do most of the work, just like Donna was saying. They do a lot of they have editors there. They have about 2-3 editors that work with you. It's a long process. And as far as illustrators, they have illustrators, or you can bring your own illustrator. You have the freedom to do that. And they make your book look really good. Quality wise, perfect, really good, just like traditionally published quality wise books. The only problem is with that is, number one, it costs a lot of money. It's a heavy, heavy investment. Number two, your returns are not what you're thinking. They basically keep a lot of the profits. Not only do they make a lot of money on the book, but they also make a lot of money on the profits. And number three, it's not widely accepted by, let's say, Barnes and Noble, or if you're going to any other, bookstore. They're not looking for something like that. I mean, obviously they want traditionally published books, but with hybrid books, it's kind of almost frowned upon. So I started with that, and I learned, wow, this costs a lot of money. This was in the tens of thousands of dollars here. The illustrator that I chose, thank God, was the only thing that kept it sane. And it wasn't for me. So the second thing I did was I self-published. Now, self-published, you have all the freedom in the world to do this, but you have to know who to go to, where to go to. You have to have connections lined up all in a row. So, but I had the freedom of expression on that. And also, when you put on Amazon or platforms like that, you basically keep most of the money. So, so profit-wise, it was excellent. It was actually the best of the three as far as that. And also the good thing is you don't have to publish 1,000 copies or 2,000. You could, you could do 1 book, 2 books, 3 books. It's per demand. Mm-hmm. So I learned that was a great method in expressing my ideas and not having someone over my head and telling me that you can't do this, cannot do that, shouldn't do this, shouldn't do that. I basically had total freedom, but the only thing that I learned here was it was a lot of work, and quality wise, it wasn't what I really wanted in a hard book. I couldn't find one that had dust cover on it. That came with a dust cover. Maybe now there is, but I couldn't find any. And the quality, I wasn't very, very impressed. So that was self-publishing, but you can make a lot of money with that. So the third route I went to was traditional publishing, and that was by accident, by the way. And sometimes accidents really work to your advantage. It was exactly the quality that I wanted. They do basically a lot of the legwork over there with publishing the book. They have amazing editors that work day and night. They have amazing illustrators. They allowed me to use my own illustrator that I said, if I don't use this illustrator, I'm not doing this book. And usually with traditional publishing, you cannot bring your own illustrator. They have their own on their payroll. So they allowed me to do that, thank God. But what I learned with traditional publishing is if you're doing a series, or if you're doing a spin-off to your series or board book series, it's probably one of the best ways to go, because you have, they basically, they distribute you everywhere. They'll get your book everywhere you want, but it's up to you to get the people there to go buy the book. So you do have to do a lot of the marketing as well. So you have to do marketing with all 3 platforms, but with traditional, you have to do a lot more marketing because your books are everywhere. And if you don't guide your community or your people to where the book is sold, then you're not going to sell anything, just going to sit on shelves. Right. So I wanted the quality. I wanted the dust cover. You can see that. I mean, you can just tell this is top notch. The book. I mean, the details to everything is just basically, just like any traditionally published book that you see out there. And it's very, very easy to get into any Barnes and Noble all over the United States. I just have to give them the ISBN number. They look it up. Oh, done. I'll order 5 copies here, 5 copies there. Also, it's very, very easy to get author signings, book event signings. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah, it's much easier as a traditional publisher to get bookstores to give you the author signings Now,
Yes.
I mean, I work in this, I do a lot of coaching in this area, so I do know some of the secret ways that nobody tells you about to get that book, that dust jacket on your book, self-publishing, and to get yourself distributed worldwide into all the bookstores, including Barnes and Noble. But it does take a lot of extra work. And I think one of the biggest misnomers that I hear when people say, well, I want to go traditional publishing because I don't want to have to do marketing. And I quickly tell them that that's inaccurate, because you do marketing no matter what path you're going to. Because here's the thing, most authors are not already well known.
Right.
And so you have to work to get your name out there. You have to continually work to keep your name out there. And like you said, especially if you're writing a series or if you're writing more than one book, because the more often you publish and the more books that you have available, the more willing that parents, teachers, and other readers are willing to trust that they are going to get a quality product each and every time. And they're willing to spend their hard-earned dollars, because let's face it, the cost of books is going up.
Yes.
They're willing to spend their hard-earned dollars for something that they know what they're going to get. Whether they know what the story's about or not is irrelevant, but they do know that they can go to Sol and get a good book. So that is important. And like I said, for every platform that you try or every path for publishing, you are going to have to do a certain amount of marketing. There's no way to get around that. It just is what it is. So,
yeah. I find myself that I have to actually market my books more traditionally than the other two platforms that I mentioned. I'm actually working 2 to 3 times more as a traditional author than as a self-published, because the distribution is so wide, it's all over. And you have to, you want to sell books, so you have to get the people there. And the good thing about about my publisher Schiffer, is that they go to conventions every year. They bring it everywhere, so they do help. They do their their end of the bargain there, that the legwork. But it's up to me day to day to just get this in front of people, teachers, librarians, curriculum, all that. And it's just marketing all the way.
Right. Yep. You got to find where your readers are. They don't find you. You have to find them.
Exactly. That's true.
So I wanted to ask you, since we're talking about specifically traditional publishing, and I don't get a lot of guests on here who have been traditionally published. So I want to know, what are your best tips for any authors or writers who do want to choose that traditional publishing route for their books?
So with traditional publishing, the one of the key things is, if you are thinking to write a series, I would, even if you're independently published, I will always recommend writing a series, because the second book can go ahead and sell the first book, and the third book can sell the second and the first. So if you're thinking of doing a series, traditional publishers, they look for someone that's not a flash in the pan. They want someone that's going to be there for a long time, someone that's investing in it. And when they see that you're here to do a series, they know they're in it for the long haul. So I definitely recommend, if you're going to write a book and you want to go traditionally published, have something in mind that it's going to become a series. That's number one. It's very, very important, because that's what traditional publishers, they want. The other thing is, you have to see what's the trend going on today. I started off with a cute bear, my first book, who ran away from home. That's a cute cookie cutter kind of a book. That's not what they want now. Now traditional publishers, we were talking about, they want the STEM, the STEAM, LGBTQ. They want diversity. They want thinking out of the box kind of topics. So if you have something like that, that's what they look for, something that can resonate with the community. So it's really important to do that, to go for that. And also, you have to know that if you're going in it for the money, for book sales, it's not going to happen right away. It could be your 4th or 5th book until that, it resonates with someone, until everything starts taking off. So money wise, it's not the route to go in the beginning. It could take a few years, actually.
Right. And I do tell people, this is the one thing that I think all writers and authors need to hear. Writing and publishing books is a marathon. It is not a sprint. Yes. And I tell people this all the time. If you miss that award this year, you know what? There's next year. If you miss that interview opportunity this month, there's next month. It's, you know, these things are not going to go away. You'll have more opportunities as things go along. So, you know, it's not a sprint. You don't need to race to the finish. It's you want a good quality product. I think those are excellent tips for authors that are seeking that traditional publishing route. Now, you know, there are many, many steps to that, but I would say, you know, especially as children's authors, there are many places that you can go and get the critical information that you need to help you make that choice and to guide you in that direction. One of them I would say is the SCBWI, the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators. And the second one is the Authors Guild. Now, I'm a member of both of these. I don't get paid to promote them or in any way, shape, or form. I just think that they're very good at what they do. If you are writing children's books, I would strongly suggest that you check out the SCBWI. They have a multitude of videos and information about each of the publishing paths and some of the pitfalls, which we're going to talk about later. But they do have a lot of information, as well as this Authors Guild. Authors Guild also has some legal advice for you in reviewing contracts and helping you through that part of traditional publishing, because that can be a little overwhelming too when you get to the point to where you're presented with an offer and you have to decide, is that good for you? So I think these are some good resources for our listeners. So I want to know, if you could speak to your younger self today, what do you think you would say?
Well, number one, I wish I started this earlier. I never in a million years, I thought I would actually write children's books. It wasn't something that was in my head. It wasn't something that I ever thought about. It was probably the last thing that I ever thought about. But once I had my 3 little kids, and until now, I still do this. I read them books every single night. I read them between 1 to 2 books a night each, and there's 3 of them, so that's about 6 to 7 books a night that I read. You come up with ideas. You come up with, wait a second, what about this? So then I started coming up with these ideas, and I started writing them down, and I thought, well, what if this could be a book? And that's how it started. That's how I actually started writing children's books. And then it develops into a passion. I don't know what it is. It just gets you. And I just wish that if I started this a little earlier, if I knew things, you know, like when I started with the hybrid publishing, if I learned my lesson before that, you know, I would have known what to have done and saved tens of thousands of dollars. But what I would say to my younger self is, you know, we like to treat people the way we want to be treated. And with writing children's books and bring a message like that, it just resonates with you. If it does resonate with you, it will resonate with everybody else. And I don't know. I just wish that there were that I was into this a lot sooner. That's basically what I would say.
Well, yeah, and
it's never too late, but yeah.
And I understand what you're talking about this passion. It just gets into your blood and you can't not write. And I think part of it is what you're talking about here is when you write something and it resonates with other people, then that validates the work that you're doing in a way that money and fame and all these other things can never do. It's something that stays with you. And to connect to a child is something even above that.
Exactly. I mean, I learned there's an author that I was really impressed with his books. This guy won about 4 or 5 Caldecott Awards, honors, and the actual medals. And he wrote amazing books. I think his name is Uri Shulevich. And I actually, it looked like he was in his late 80s, but I decided to write him. This was actually about a year ago. I wrote him. And I asked him how, you know, my dream one day is to get one of these Caldecott. I mean, obviously every children's writer wants to get one like that. How do you get something like that? How did you, you know, what was it that you know, that helped you, you know, get, because you have to have a certain topic book to get that. So he actually wrote back, which I couldn't believe he wrote back. And he said, if any author thinks when they write their book about getting an award or, you know, getting a Caldecott or Newbery or anything like that, then this is an author that's doing it for the wrong reason. if you're writing for strictly to get an award, or if you're writing because, you want to get the highest accolade or anything like that, then you have not done your job as a children's author. And I took it as it looks like an insult. Like, am I not doing my job? But he's absolutely right. We're not doing this for awards. We're not doing this for money. We're doing this because it's a passion. And if it happens, great. It's just icing on the cake. But that's what it's all about. It's your passion and your message that you want to relay. And my favorite thing is when I go to schools in person and I have 600 kids that I get to talk to and read the books to and ask questions and their interactions. That is the biggest award, more than any Caldecott or Newbery. That's the biggest award that I could get. And I just thirst for that, because then you know that then your message is really resonating there.
Yeah, it is amazing to me that, that other authors who do not write in the children's genre, that they don't get that moment of walking in, and you almost get this hero's welcome from these kids that are so looking up to you and looking to you for answers and inspiration. And I so enjoy that myself. It's like, it is a huge highlight to me. And I'm always impressed with how well they know my book. And sometimes I feel like they may know it a bit better than I do. So it's kind of, it's eye-opening, and it's very inspirational. It always makes me want to write that next book and get it through their hands.
Absolutely.
So I think they all work together. So I want to know, what advice or tip would you share with the audience here that you wish somebody had shared with you?
Well, do it because you love to do this. Don't do it because you want to, make a lot of money off of this, or like we were talking about. Do it because you love to do this. Editing is the most important key. Whatever you do, whether it's self-published, hybrid, or traditionally published, even traditionally published, they have their own editors. I still hire my own private editors before I send it off to their editors. I mean, I have to have this edited about 100 times, because if your book sells, if your book comes out and it's not really properly edited, it stays in the reader's mind. They're not going to buy your next book or the book after. You have one time to make a first impression, and it's got to be edited perfectly. So editing is probably the most important thing. Hire, if you're doing self-publishing, hire an amazing illustrator. See what kind of range they could do with tones and colors, and basically you want to get an illustrator that can get whatever you have here out into the book. So basically, when you read the book, when you look at the book, this is exactly what your brain had in there to begin with, and just they put it into an image, basically. So that's very, very important. And have a lot of fun, have focus groups. It's really important to get people's opinions, even though you have your own ideas and you're thinking. It's very, very important. You might be missing something. So always have a focus group, or even children are amazing to have as an audience. They really can give you great advice,
Right. I actually work with a teacher that she loves it when I send her, things that I'm thinking about, including my next book. And she just throws it out there randomly to her class as like a poll. It's like, would you rather read a book about this, or would you rather read about this? Do you like this name? Do you like that name? What about, and the kids really love the fact, especially when the book comes out, that they get to read through it and see if their thoughts and opinions, which 90% of the time they do make it into the book, which elevates them to want to read and to be writers and readers for the rest of their life. And I just absolutely love doing that. And the teachers love it because you're involving them in a way that doesn't feel like an assignment. Right. And that's the best way I have found that to get kids to connect. And I think this is excellent advice. I'm just blown away. And again, as an editor myself, I have to say you're right. Getting that editing done, and it's like, here's the thing: you are presenting yourself, whether you are presenting yourself to a traditional publishing house or a literary agent or a hybrid publisher, or even if you're just putting your book out for yourself and self-publishing and indie publishing, it's like, this is a representation of you.
Yes.
And if you have to make sure that it's polished, that it's ready to be seen by these professionals who really have to make very fast decisions about whether or not to accept you as an author, whether or not to publish your book. So give it the best chance possible and put it in the best, cleanest, articulate state that you can. Now, of course, they may have some changes and stuff like that, but if it's polished and well presented, then it has a higher chance of being chosen than if they get it and it's just in a sloppy,
Raw,
unedited state. They don't really, because again, if they don't feel like you're putting as much work into it, then why should they?
Right.
So I think that's excellent. So I want to know what is next for Sol and Geraldine.
Okay, so so the publisher really likes the series. Actually, the 5th book of the series I already wrote and submitted to them. They're not allowing me to release the name or anything yet because it's still in the works. But what's happening now is with the success of the Geraldine Gizmo Girl series, we are now doing a spin-off to it, and these are going to be board books, and it's going to be titled Josephine. So it's basically Geraldine's younger cousin, and these are going to be board books. They're also going to be STEAM related in a board book style for ages, I guess, 1 to 4.
Okay.
Yeah. So the first 2 books, which are going to come out next year, the first one's coming out in February 2023, and then the second one is going to come out 6 months after. So we have a spin-off to Geraldine, Josephine.
Nice. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll be sure to have you back here on the Writer's Parachute when those books are close to coming out, so we can let everybody know. And of course, we always want to encourage you to go follow Sol and go check out his website, which is Sol Regwan at .com. That's SOLREGWAN.com. And, go sign up for his newsletter. We're going to have some information about that here in just a bit. He's going to give some special prizes away just for our listeners, but we'll let him expand on that. But, go check out, go sign up for his newsletter so that you can be the first to know when these books are coming out, because I'm very excited.
Yes. That'd be
All
great.
right. Well, we want to know, again, I'm assuming you have upcoming events going out with the new book, Geraldine and the Rainbow Machine. So can you tell us about what you have planned coming up that we can have some of our listeners go maybe support you?
Absolutely. So the book was supposed to actually be released August 28th of this year. And with with what's going on in the world now, everything's delayed and production and all that. So it's coming out in October. But I have an author's book signing event at the Barnes & Noble at the Grove in Los Angeles on August 28th, actually, at 2 p.m. So it's going to be for this book, Geraldine and the Rainbow Machine. And we're going to do a lot of giveaways and prizes and treats and I'm going to have my daughter actually probably dress up as Geraldine. She actually looks like her, by the way, too. But she's going to dress up as Geraldine, and you can take pictures with her, and and she'll answer some questions as well. It's kind of like talking to the real character in real life. So we're going to have that, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. I hope parents can bring their kids there. It's not just going to be a book reading event. It's going to be. I want to make it like an event. It's going to be a lot of prizes and games and maybe scavenger hunts and whatever. If Barnes and Noble, basically they're giving me the green light to do whatever I want. And I get the whole top floor. So I'm going to use as much as I can to make this amazing for the kids. It's going to be a 2-hour event. So we're going to try to make it fun.
All right. Well, we're very excited about that. We will have information about his book signing at the Barnes & Noble at the Grove in Los Angeles on August 28th. We will have that for you in the show notes. But you also have a giveaway sign up?
Yes. So what I want to offer the viewers and listeners to this beautiful podcast. Free, well, for the first, I'm going to give away one book of each series to, if you just go ahead and sign into the newsletter, and then from there, we're going to go ahead and pick out 4 winners, and I'll send in a signed copy to the names whoever, won. I'll ship it to them. So you guys will have a free copy of the Geraldine book series, but you have to just go in and sign in at where the newsletter part is on my website, solregwan.com. And if you have any questions or anything, you can always ask me on my Instagram page too. I check that out a lot. So you can always ask me questions on that if you need to.
Okay, so just to reiterate, so Sol is going to give away one signed copy of each of his 4 books in the Geraldine Gizmo Girl series. And he's giving those away to our listeners who go sign up for his newsletter at his website, solregwan.com. And he is asking,
code.
Excuse me. Oh, yeah. Well, he is asking you, when you sign up for the newsletter, please put in the comments or in the subject line the code WP32. He is on the Writer's Parachute episode 32. So if you remember that code, put it in there and you will be eligible to be one of the winners that he is going to be drawing. But I highly suggest you go ahead and sign up for his newsletter. I'm sure he's got lots of good information in. And of course, you would be the first to know when his new books are coming out. Do we have an actual release date for Geraldine and the Rainbow Machine?
Yes, I think it was October 26th.
All right. Mm-hmm. Well, we definitely want to promote that. And of course, once Sol does pull those 4 winners, then we'll go ahead and announce those on the Writer's Parachute. We'll have it up on the website, and we'll also have it up on all of our social media, and I'm sure so will Sol. And of course, in the show notes, we do have his website for you and the link to sign up for the newsletter. So where can we find the Gizmo Girl series?
Well, you can find them in basically all the Barnes and Nobles. You can find them on Amazon, and you can also find them through my publisher, schifferpublishing.com. And it's the subtype is Schiffer Kids, and then you'll find it over there.
Okay, great. Well, we'll have that link to that. So, and of course, you're on social media. We talked about that.
And that too.
Yeah. So we have you down as being on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So what username are you using there? Now, we will have the actual links for you in the show notes, but go ahead and give those.
So on Instagram, which is the one that I use the most, it's at Sol Regwan Author. So at, SolRegwanAuthor, one word. On Facebook, it's just my name, Sol Regwan, SOL, and then REGWAN. Twitter, same thing, Sol Regwan, and my website, which you have already.
All right. Well, again, check out the show notes. We definitely have those for you with all the links to not only his website, we'll have information about his book signing, we'll have links to his books.
Yes.
So I do strongly suggest you go check those out. So
thank you.
If teachers, schools, or any groups would like to connect with you for a school or group visit, where would they connect with you?
Okay, so the best way to connect with me is my Instagram, because I check that the most out of every platform. I've done tons of school visits. I do that, as much as I can. And if it's in a different state, then obviously Zoom. I don't mind doing Zoom. I've done that a lot too, and it's fun. So if you want to connect with me, just go ahead and write me, and I'll be more than happy to do a reading and a question answer and activity session with the students.
All right. Well, we always so love doing those. You and I, this is one of our kind of
That's my favorite thing.
Where we find our total author jam is doing these school visits. So I always like to make sure we throw that out there for our listeners. And a lot of our listeners have kids. They have they are teachers, or they have kids in school that these teachers are looking for quality authors to come in and talk to them. So of course we want to recommend Sol for your school and your classroom. So is there anything else that you want to add before we go pull the ripcord on our tip of the week?
No, I just want to thank you so much for this opportunity. I really enjoyed this podcast. I love listening to it. I've listened to it the entire week because I knew I was going to come on, but I really now am addicted to your podcast. I'm going to be I'm trying to catch up to all the episodes that I've missed throughout. So I'm going backwards basically. So I'm excited to be here, and thank you so much for having me. And I look forward to your next podcast and to your next guest.
All right. Well, before we go, though, you kind of segue out of this. I was hoping you were going to talk about your children's award.
Oh, yes, yes. So I've also created a children's book cover award. It's the Indie Children's Book Cover Award contest. And it's a basically, if you have your book, it has to be for self-published books, not traditionally published. It could be hybrid, either hybrid or traditionally published within the last 5 years. And what we do is we have a committee of 8. There's an editor, there's a publicist, there's a literary agent, school teachers, librarians, parents, and kids who are basically the judges, and they choose the 2 top book covers. And then we publicize it all over social media, on our website. And we also have a top 20 book cover winners, but the top 2 get the awards. And so if you're an author that wrote a children's book and you have an amazing eye-catching book cover, definitely submit it. It's the website is childrensbookcoverawards.com.
All right. We'll be sure to add that to the show notes. And again, he is
Right.
that any authors that have children's books that have an eye-catching book cover that are either hybrid or self-published, you're eligible. So just go over to, it is a Facebook page, or is it also a website?
It's also on my Facebook page. It's on the Facebook page.
So there's a Facebook page. We'll have the connection to the Facebook page and the website, so you can get all of the submission guidelines for that. So I know several authors who have been involved with that, and they were very, very happy with the results and how it was handled. So we definitely want to promote that for you. So let's go ahead and go over and pull the ripcord on the tip of the week. And we're going to always try and dovetail that with the problem our guest had. Now, Sol was talking about the problems around getting those, those publishing, the pitfalls in publishing. And that's kind of a problem that we see from all different perspectives. A lot of times it goes back to not doing your homework first. It's talking about, if you don't know how you're going to present your book, then I would say always start with the end in mind as being traditionally published. That one is the most restrictive as far as what you need to do and who you can hire and who you can't hire. So I would say if you haven't made a choice, well, the guidelines of going for traditionally published or possibly hybrid, you can always do more rather than do less if you later decide to self-publish. And what I want to talk about is these publishing pitfalls. You have to understand these publishers, most of them, especially the hybrid publishers, are in it to make money. It is their business, as is the same thing with literary agents and traditional publishers. Yes. They are in it to make money. If you are not presenting them with a quality proposal, you're not presenting them with a quality manuscript, then most likely you're not going to get picked for them to publish. Again, be wary of the ones that do charge these large amounts of money to publish your books. Look into what they're offering you for that money and ask for reviews, ask for references. Go talk to other authors that have used them and see if this is actually the right path for you. Again, traditional publishing is great, so is hybrid publishing, so is self-publishing. They all have their own pitfalls. With self-publishing, there are so many things that you are responsible for. It is literally like juggling chainsaws half of the time. There are so many things that you have to be responsible for. There is nobody there to tell you that you must do this next and you must do that next. You have to learn all of that. So there is a big learning curve for all of these. So I would say, to avoid the pitfalls, make sure you get references from other authors. Make sure it fits what you want to do, how you want to proceed, and clearly understand the differences between each of the paths and what their pros and what their cons are. So I hope that's a helpful tip for you guys this week. And as I always say, just read on, read more, and study, study, study. It is a craft. We are artists, and there's always something new and interesting to learn. So I'm so glad that you were able to join us this week on the Writer's Parachute, Sol. I look forward to this new book coming out, and I can't wait to hear about this new spin-off series and when it's coming out. And of course, we're definitely going to have you back for that and talk about the new spin-off series, the board book series with Josephine. That sounds exciting. Yeah. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Don't forget to subscribe, like, sign up, go follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And of course, go check out the new website, thewritersparachute.com. And of course, don't forget to hit that bell so you're reminded each week of the new episodes. So thank you so much, Sol, for being here.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome, and we do hope that you come back. And of course, we hope that all of your writing and publishing dreams land well. Until next time, bye.
Bye.